Alright, so I want to make a couple of curtain wall pattern pieces just so you can see how they're made. I'm going to make the two that I gave you, the square and the flap, and I'll do it in two parts. So let's go ahead and start. So if I go to Family, New, I can pick the curtain panel pattern based, double click on that, and it will open up a blank file with a pattern. Now the ones that I made are the square rectangular pattern, but you can make different patterns, and we'll take a look at two different types. This is the rectangle. You notice when I hover over it, it says rectangle. If I left click on it, it's going to tell me that that grid spacing is 10 by 10, which is pretty big. It's set more for a building type. If you're working on something smaller, like say a 2 by 2 foot piece, you might want to resize your grid. So now that's a 2 by 2 grid, and you may want to change the scale down here to a larger scale, like 3 inches equals a foot. That'll make the text and things and the line thickness a little better. Alright, so let's go ahead and make the flap in the rectangle. Now basically in this curtain wall pattern, what you have are 4 adaptive points that sit on each one of these corners. You can see that's 3. If I hover over 2, that's going to be 1, and that's going to be 4, and then they're connected by 4 reference lines. You can't delete these. These are permanent. Like if I try to delete them, they're permanent parts of the pattern. So basically what you want to do is anything that you make wants to be hosted to these, because each one of these corners is going to seek out the division in the surface and place itself there. So if you were to draw something randomly in the middle of here and not connect it to this piece, these pieces, it would not expand and contract. So let's go ahead and make that flap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and activate one of these planes on the adaptive points, and to do that I'm just going to tab select, and you can see it's scrolling through all those planes, and I can left click when I get to the plane that I want to use. So basically this is like a reference plane that's already there for us. I know that in the past we've used show to show the work plane. Well, it doesn't really work with the reference lines because the work planes are so big that you're zoomed so far in that everything is blue, so it's not very helpful. So I'm going to turn the show off, and again just tab select, left click on that plane, and I'm going to draw a reference line. I'm going to make sure that draw on work plane is selected, and I'm going to make sure, I'm going to go ahead and turn off surface from closed loops because I don't need that. It's just going to be a line. Make sure that 3D snapping is off. And then what you want to do is you want to select that endpoint, that adaptive point, and just draw vertically up and left click. Okay, and now it wants to draw some more lines, so you can select the modifier, hit escape twice. So if I pick that line and sort of zoom around it, it's just a vertical line, right? Now you'll notice that when I pick that line, it gives me a listening dimension, and I want to make that dimension permanent. So again, if I pick the line, I get a listening dimension. To make that permanent, left click on the little dimension, blue dimension piece, and it will make that piece permanent. So now it's just there all the time. Now what I can do is select that dimension, so I'm just left clicking on it. I can go to this label and add parameter, and I'm going to name this H for height and click OK. Alright, so you can see that now that says H equals 2.5 inches. So what that does is it adds a parameter, and that is going to show up in what's called our family types dialog box, which is this guy right here. So I'm going to left click and open that family types dialog box. I'll move it over a little bit so we can see them both, and you can see the dimension is already there. They've also added some other things in here that come default, but if I come in here and say change this to 4 inches and apply, you see how that thing moves up to 4 inches. So what I want to do is I want to make a couple of different types of this. So you see this family types over here, new. I'm going to click on new, and I'm going to name this one type 4 for 4 inches. Okay, so you can see that that is 4. I'm going to go new, and I'm going to name this type, we'll make a larger one, how about 18? for 18 inches. And then I'm going to change this to 18 inches and apply. And you see that that gets larger. Okay. Now, if I go to 4 and apply, it's going to set that one back to 4. Alright, so I'm going to click OK. What I was basically doing there is flexing that parameter to make sure it worked, and it does. Now what I want to do is I want to draw a reference line, and I want to turn on 3D snapping, and that's going to allow me to snap to points that are not coincident with the plane. So I'm going to start over here, let's see, and I'm going to come up here and pick draw on face, and that's going to allow me to snap the point there. Then I'm going to go to that endpoint, then I'm going to go to that endpoint, and then escape. And then what I'm going to do is left click on those lines, hold down the control key, and there are 2 reference lines that already exist in the template. I'm going to left click on those and go to create form. You have an option to create a solid form or just a surface, and I want to create just a surface for right now because it's just not as heavy. It just moves a lot faster. So now I have that surface. Now if I open up my family types dialog box and go to type 18 and apply, right, that surface is following those lines. So basically I could delete this surface at any time and very easily recreate it. So basically what I want to do is create a rig that changes the parameters that I want to change. Okay, so I'm just going to go to File, Save, and I can save this as flap test and save it. Okay. Alright, for the next one we'll take a look at how to make the similar thing on a different pattern and then apply it.